Welcome to the Pacey Performance Podcast. Today, I'm speaking with Head of Athletic Development at Huddersfield Town Football Club, Dan Hughes. Right, welcome to episode 5 of the Pacey Performance Podcast. Today we've got Dan Hughes, the lead sports scientist for Huddersfield Town's Academy. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Pacey.
I first met Dan through Doncaster when I was doing a bit of an internship there. Dan left to go to Huddersfield, and right place, right time. I stepped into the big shoes that Dan had created down there. Kept in touch ever since, so got down the podcast to talk for you a few things. So, how did you get into S&C, sports science? What's your kind of background?
Basically for me, I've always been interested in sport and played sport, so it come from that. Different total sport I'm working in now, but started playing ice hockey at a young age, got to a professional level, international level, and was always interested in the S&C side of it, in the background. From then on, I did various other things after college. Went to Sweden on a scholarship, then come back and decided to do a university so I could do the degree relative to what I wanted to do as a career. So from then on, I got a chance to do some work experience at Doncaster Rovers. I think that started around 2008, and I was going in on nights on top of my other job to free a course and just trying to learn different things and learning from the S&C or sports scientist there. It was called Ross Burberry, who worked at Doncaster at that time. He was a friend of mine, so in that respect, it was knowing somebody to get into them circles. I started working with the youth teams there from under 10s right up to under 16s, and that's where it sort of cut off in terms of any older age groups, and that was twice a week. That's how I started basically. So it then expanded where I was at university in Huddersfield. I got an offer to do some more work experience at Huddersfield Town, so I was juggling both, really going to Huddersfield Town and then going to Doncaster 2 or 3 times a week, once on the weekend, and then juggling another job as well to put bread on the table, so to speak.
Uh-huh. So what was the S&C like in the ice hockey?
It's pretty strength orientated, probably similar to rugby a little bit.
Okay.
And speed and power, obviously, because they're key elements of the game. When I was playing, I just wished that we had the resources and the expertise that they have now and they have in football and they have in rugby and basketball and other sports. Ice hockey is one of those growing sports that's expanded in the UK recently over the years, and if you go abroad to the likes of North America and Europe, you'll find that it's the number one sport, and S&C, is top class service they get over there, and it's a major part of their preparation.
So what's your current role at Huddersfield?
Currently, when I started when I switched from Doncaster over to Huddersfield, I took on the role of lead sports scientist for the academy, and basically taking in players and assessing the needs, doing some injury prevention or screening, looking at the flexibility and posture, any imbalances, trying to write programs to correct them, also implement a sort of strength program, starting with technique, getting the lifts right, getting the main lift right that ID and research suggest that are the right way to go, and covering sort of the nutritional aspects as well, so a little bit of input on that side of it, writing advisory sheets, and I said as you get up further on, you try and individualise things and make it tailored to that player, especially with the screening results coming back from testing. You use that to good, hopefully, and put things together and get some improvements and keep them playing and keep them training as long as possible. With the academy, it's more about development rather than results. So you do get a lot of time to develop the players and hopefully see some of the work of yourself and their hard work to come to fruition.
So you mentioned a little bit about screening and correctives and that type of thing. Quite a lot in social media recently, but with Raymond Verhey caning what he calls Jurassic Park English football. What kind of recovery methods do you use with your guys down there?
In terms of recovery, I think what we're using at the minute is, I went. It was always ice baths and stuff like that, and sort of getting them in there post session. And then I read a bit of research, and I can't remember the name. It was a few years ago, but where the lukewarm water, sort of 20-minute submersion, would be more beneficial for recovery. So we started using facilities around us, so we could get in there and get them in the water and perform certain stretches and flexibility exercises, using that as a recovery method. At the minute, we've also got body flows in. Don't know if you've heard of that. It's basically a machine that's got some electrode pads attached to it. Then it sends an electronic signal onto your muscles, which causes your muscles to contract and relax. And you can have different sort of settings on that, which then aids the player in recovery. And we usually do it for about 20 minutes, sort of. Post-game, post-training, and they're quite handy because they can travel on the bus easily once they're charged up.
Right.
So if you've got quite a long away trip, you can strap them on a couple of lads while we're travelling. Mm-hmm. And nutritional-wise, I think it's a big one. I think a lot of inflammatory foods are very important, and I think you can use we get Cherry Active in, we can use that as much as we like, and I think it's a good thing. But is it as good as eating whole foods such as blueberries and stuff, which probably have the same sort of antioxidant properties as they do? So I think nutritional protocols are very important as well in terms of getting players to recover.
So do you have a nutritionist down there, or is it just kind of guidance from yourself and other staff members?
Yeah, we don't actually have a nutritionist. I think when I was at Doncaster, we sort of had the first team. I know they had sort of somebody coming in externally and doing some bits with the players, once or twice a week or twice a month, something like that. And they put some nutritional protocols in, and they probably advise on certain supplements and things like that. But I think for us, we use, sports science is a broad area, and you should learn and use all the elements that come with it. And I think, when you do your degree and you get your foundation set, I think you should sort of research and explore every avenue in there. And one of them, for me, is a big one, and that's nutrition. And it's something I really enjoy talking about and implementing into my working life. So it's pretty much from led by the sports science department in terms of the menu set out at work, what the players eat, when they should eat, what type of foods they should be eating, etc.
So obviously, coming into the job, how did you? I don't know how it differed from what was there previously, but how did you get buy-in from the players, from as a new member of staff coming from a different club? Did you implement anything that didn't get the buy-in that you thought it would, or did you go down any route to get that buy-in from your players?
I think luckily when I came, I was a fresh face. I think when you come in something like that, you kind of think you've got to not prove anything, but you've got to come in, and like you said, you've got to get the players to buy in. And I think a lot of it comes down to respect and gaining respect, and just showing that the stuff that you're doing is going to get results. And when they do get results, then that's probably, I think, when they do buy into the program that you're setting out for them. I do think respect is a big one when it comes. It's in interpersonal skills, how you deal with different players, how you talk to them, how you set the programs out for them. Seeing what they like, what they don't like. They are going to have to do things they don't like, but you can make things a lot easier and a lot better for them, so you can get full adherence.
So do you use educational little workshops or little presentations or anything to kind of kind of push them along the way?
When I first came in at Huddersfield, I remember doing not nutritional, that was part of it, but I remember doing a seminar with the lads, looking at what we'd be doing and what would be expected of them, why we would do certain things, why we would do certain types of training, the importance of them, the importance of performance, nutrition, and how it affects you, hydration, all that. And those are quite regular things, and we try and do them as much as we can. I think we're planning on doing one very shortly, to be honest, with the academy, the under-18s, and just sitting down. And I think through their education, they do get nutritional lectures and coursework to do as part of their college work. But when it comes to performance nutrition, I think that area should be covered by our department, and we get in there and lay things out and try and explain the best we can, get them to buy into it, get them to adhere to it, and hopefully, get some results.
So do you get the parents involved as well? Because that's obviously a big thing. If they're going home and you're saying you need to eat this, do this, and then they get bloody sausage and chips on the table.
That's exactly what we did. We did a couple. We did one sort of just in pre-season a couple of years ago, where we had an external person come in that had worked with GB athletes and various other athletes such as boxers and stuff, and other footballers. And he came in, did a seminar. We got all the parents there in a big conference room, and he stood up there and he put the things up there that he thought the parents need to know in terms of feeding the kids the right things, quality nutrients, and how's the best way to go about it. And we also did another one where I was involved, where we had new intakes come in that had got received a scholarship or youth scholarship, whatever you want to call it, and we got them in there, and my part was to speak about the correct foods that the kids need and what they need to come in and perform on a daily basis, because once they get in through that door, the training time increases tenfold, so it becomes even more important.
Just moving on a little bit, I know you've stepped up to assist with the first team recently for one reason or other. What's the transition been like from working with 10-year-olds to working with lads on 25-year-olds on a lot of money?
Yeah, I think it's for me. Luckily, I found it quite smooth. And when I was at Doncaster Rovers, I spent a lot of time in close contact with Ross Burberry there, and the first team were always on hand. We were always next to each other. We shared an office. The gym was right next door. I'd get involved with first team things when I had spare time, so that gave me a lot of experience. And that sort of gave me a lot of confidence coming over here to Huddersfield then, even though, I was solely just working with the academy. But in terms of assisting now with the first team, I've been able to take that experience that I got at Doncaster and then transfer it over into this sort of this role now, assisting. And like I said before, you get a lot of time developing players in the academy, and it's not about results. But I think when you're at first team level or any elite professional level, they are looking at results, and that's the nature of the game. And you're doing things that hopefully are going to contribute to that performance. And I said, injury prevention, working the basic lifts in strength, getting the pillar and the core activated, the glutes activated, all those things that contribute to keeping the players on the pitch for as long as possible and injury-free for as long as possible. That's why you're there, and that's going to contribute hopefully to the performance of the team.
So how do you deal with the technical coaching staff? Is that a lot different from academy to first team? Are you a lot more kind of interacting with the first team technical staff as opposed to the academy, or is it the other way around?
I would say it's evenly split. I said the only difference is with the first team, we have a performance director, so a lot of our stuff is, we have conversations and we have meetings and we have a head of the department as such, which then it goes to him again, and then it can get relayed. Or we can all be in a meeting at the same time and discuss things. The management staff and sports science staff, medical staff. But with the academy, initially, there wasn't a head of the department, so there was just one guy doing the job. Whereas now we've got 2 or 3 heads. One head, sorry, but 2 or 3 people where you can bounce ideas off, and hopefully put things together that are going to make a difference.
So you mentioned a couple of about the S&C side of things, getting in the gym and doing bits and bobs. What are your kind of go-to exercises for for both for the academy lads, and how for like a 12-year-old, and how that differs for a 25-year-old in the first team?
Yeah, well, when you start at the younger ages, I think it's about perfecting technique and getting the technical elements of if it's strength training, getting those right, just concentrating on the basic things. If you want, big believer in starting and squatting at an early age, body weight, but getting training bars in and just getting that alignment right, getting the right things firing, getting the glutes firing. Getting the core activated, and progressing them that way. And I've seen a massive difference over the last couple of years from when I came coming in, and a lot of the technique of some of the lads needed to be improved, and they worked hard, and we even started with the training bars and things like that at under 18 level and building them up, and then you see them now, when you can put them under load when they're a little bit older and they're a little bit more capable, and they really are improving, and you can see that on the pitch, I think. It's that's about it. When it comes to the younger ones as well, and right to 18s, sprint mechanics, things like that, getting that right on the field. Pre-season activities, you're looking at technique and getting that. Knee raise, arm drive, get them tucked in, get them moving in the direction they want to go. Try not to waste energy, be nice and economical with it, and just trying to benefit them in that way.
So if there was a group session and they were doing some conditioning, and you saw someone that wasn't maybe come in like later on, hasn't come through the system, would you have had the authority to kind of pull that kid out and do some individual work, or would it have to be done as a group? Would you have that freedom to do that?
No, yeah, definitely. We'd have the freedom, whether it be, whether he'd take part in the session, as long as he wasn't only under any risk. Sorry, I get the words out there. They got the freedom of taking them out, or doing it post session where you're one-on-one. Where the player can really concentrate and it can be really individualised and tailored to his needs. So there's definitely the freedom for that.
In the first team, I know obviously in first team football you get players who have been brought up at different clubs.
Yeah.
When guys come in, are you finding that they've kind of got a decent base of kind of knowledge, or are they a bit, is this all new to them, or what?
I think there's quite a broad range, to be honest, depending sort of what they've done in the past and what the other clubs that they've been at have done. So you can definitely tell a difference when different players come in from different clubs. You can possibly tell the volume of or type of work they've been doing at that particular club, and if it's something that's they've not done much of, then that's my job to. If it's something in our programme, then it's my job to try and teach them that and get them going on that, and hopefully progressing.
So what might
to support that, it's definitely not everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Nothing works the same for everybody, so it differs quite a lot.
So in the first team, what might say you've got a game on a Saturday, you've got Sunday off. What might a typical week look like? Or would you have Sunday off? I don't know. You've got a game on a Saturday. What would a typical week look like for the first team that you've been working with, and where you kind of slot into them gaps?
Yeah, it differs slightly. Sometimes, if it's a Saturday to Saturday, we'll have the Sunday off, and the lads will come in on Monday. If it's been quite a run of games, we might bring them in on a Sunday and do a sort of a recovery session and give them the Monday off. Same thing with the midweek games, things like that, where we might come in on a Sunday just to do a recovery, and then get back in on Monday and play Tuesday night. So it varies, depends on the schedule. If there's a big cluster of games and we feel like that fatigue might be an issue, then we have to look at the recovery strategies we're going to implement, and that might be rejigging the week. But a general week would look like a Saturday game, a Sunday rest, and then it'll be back in Monday. And if, like I said, there's been a backlog of games being played, and it might be another a recovery day on Monday when they come back in, and it might be a light on-field day. Tuesdays are generally pretty hard. It's generally a sort of a conditioning day in season, where Tuesdays, we look at using the GPS to analyse the load and the high intensity sprints, high intensity distance covered. So Tuesdays is one of those days that we can push the lads a little bit more. Generally, Wednesday is another rest day. Then Thursday they're back in. Try and get a quite high tempo training session going to get them moving after the day off. In terms of getting them prepared for that, we do quite a lot of hurdle work and hip ability work. After days off and things like that. And then Friday's generally just a prep day for the coaches and the technical staff to get in there and put their last finishing touches before the kick off on Saturday.
Very good. So you, as a strength session, gym sessions, is it normally Tuesday, Thursday that you slot them in there?
Yeah.
I know at Doncaster, Ross used to use so they'd have the day off on the Sunday. They might also give them the day off on the Monday if they'd had a long journey or something, but they'd send them away with like a heart rate monitor, so they could do their own sessions. Is that something you use down there or not?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We're lucky enough to have the heart rate belts as well that can be taken home and can record a session that we've planned or set out for players or certain individuals. They might be not involved for some reason, so we might want them to do an extra session on a Sunday. So you can take the heart rate belt home, and we can bring it in Monday morning, and then we can have a look at what we've achieved, and have we achieved the goals we wanted to in terms of training load. So that's something that I think it's very useful, and we're lucky enough we can put that to use.
And you mentioned hurdle work. I know it's something you did at Doncaster with Ross as well. Just explain a little bit more about why you use it, what it actually is, and what the lads benefit from.
Yeah, basically we look to do it just to activate the hips, and you can use them for various things. We've got the extendable ones where you can adjust the height. So again, when you're looking at working with different age groups and different abilities, you've also got that at your disposal where you can manipulate the height of the hurdle. But you're looking at flexibility, so you're looking at activating the hips. So we're just doing walkovers. We're getting the groin in there as well. We're bringing the knee right round. In between, you can work on a little bit of balance as well as moving from one hurdle to the other. You can move laterally across. You can march across. You can do hamstring walks. Or skips. You can extend them to the top notch where you can get under them. I always encourage them, when they're coming down and they usually have to push through on things, we're going to keep the heel nice and flat and dug in and try and get the glutes involved as much as we can. Get that lower back activated as well. They're generally a good tool, and yeah, you're right, I used to do a lot at Doncaster, and I think that's one of the things I've taken as well with me, and I think I don't see why we should stop doing it. The lads should get really good benefit from it in terms of flexibility and mobility.
So you use that with the academy there as well as the first team?
Yeah, that's right. The academy used them, the first team used them, and it's usually pre-session or in the early stages of the warm-up where they can use them. Also, you want to do any plyometric activities, you can use them for the same purpose. So yeah, they use quite a lot.
Just a little offset of that, about warm-ups. The last podcast when I spoke to Andy Titterell, he was speaking about warm-ups, and often you still see the old jog around the pitch.
Yeah.
How has that kind of jog around the pitch advanced in your practice? So what do you kind of include? What do you shove into the warm-up that you might not be able to fit in elsewhere? How would you structure your warm-up, or how do you structure your warm-up?
Yeah, I think the luxury we have is we have mandatory pre-ab sessions. So we've got guys coming in just before training and being able to activate the glutes and the core. And
so is that everyone?
We use resistance bands, things like that. We use longer resistance bands where they can step up on boxes and drive knees up, and we can get the muscles firing just before they get out there. So they need to sort of like run around for a couple of minutes and then come in and get the balls out. I think it's pretty much gone now. I think you can activate the muscles in a more efficient way and isolate certain muscles and then take them out there and get into some more dynamic things, more dynamic exercises, and then depending on the day, depending on what the goal is, that you can then move from those dynamic exercises into some more agility work.
So is that something that everyone does, or do you target players with different things? Is it something you individualise as well, or is that just a broad, squad-wide?
Yeah, it's something everybody does, but everybody's pre-ab is different. It's all tailored to the results from screening tests. So everything, you look at one player's program, will be totally different from another. It all depends on the needs. It's not something that they come in and they all do the same thing, because you might be missing something out that they need to correct, or they need particular attention paying to. So everything's individualised, and it'll be on their program as they walk in. And they'll perform their exercises, and then they'll go out onto the pitch for a group warm-up.
Very good. Just to go back to where we started with your ice hockey, would ice hockey be something that further down the line in your career want to get involved in, or is that gone and you've kind of moved on?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't think, like I said, I think in our industry, I think the big. The big sports for career-wise, if that's what you mean, is definitely football and maybe rugby. Not too sure about basketball and things like that, but I think for our industry, in terms of support staff, I think they're the two big ones where you can really get in there and get a good career and have a good job and really enjoy your work and what you've studied hard for and put the hours in to get that experience and get that recognition and then get into a professional sports club and put your expertise to use.
That's been good. I mean, we're coming up to half an hour. I know you're a busy man and all that. So I'll let you go. But if anyone wants to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of email addresses. So I've got one that'll come to me while I'm at work. So I've got dan.hughes@htafc.com, and then there is also dh210584@gmail.com, which is the one I can respond to in an evening.
Are you on Twitter or Facebook or all?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm Dan Hughes 333, and I'm also on Facebook as an individual, but there's not much interested on there. But yeah, I kind of find Twitter more useful for sort of getting in touch with people. Yeah. I know that the guy Keir you had on previously from Sydney Roosters, I got in touch with him just after listening to your podcast. So that's, I think, is great about podcast is getting to listen to other people that you're never ever really going to speak to, but you kind of are in the room when you listen to a podcast, because you can, and then you put your contact details at the end, and I just fired him a tweet saying what I thought about the podcast, and it was really good, and then he just got straight back to me. So we've had a couple of emails sent back and forth, and he's you know, other side of the world in Australia, so that's what I think's really good about it, to be honest. But yeah, Twitter's generally quite useful.
So just one last thing, who apart obviously you've got in touch with Keir, but who are the people that you follow on Twitter, look out for, and who are the guys that you look to for decent information?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I think the main ones for me, nutritionally, is at Ben Kuma. Ben Kuma has got a podcast out there. It's been going quite well now. I think I'm right up to date with all. He's done about, must be 80 episodes.
Yeah.
You know, he's a youngish lad about similar age as me, and he's gone out there and focused all his attention on nutrition and performance, and some of the stuff that he does I think is brilliant. And I really like to go on one of his seminars, to be honest. And he's got a company called Body Type Nutrition that are online, and you know, it looks really good. He takes on people there to perform as coaches and do individualised training programs and nutrition programs. So a lot of the nutrition he puts out there, I tend to agree with and use myself, and also try and implement at the workplace. But I think strength, you know, anything like S&C wise, you're looking at Christian Thibodeau, his name is a French Canadian. He's got a lot of useful ways of programming and how to train athletes in specific ways. Dan John's another good one. I think there is one guy, but his name eludes me. Mike Boyle, I believe.
Yes.
Since you mentioned ice hockey, he does a lot over there in the NHL. And some of his work was really good, really good. So yeah, they're like, you know, a couple there that I follow on there and try and get information from and see what they're up to.
Very good. Well, I'll leave it there because it's been over half an hour now because I asked you the question. But if anyone wants to get in touch with me or to get in touch with me, to get in touch with whoever, I'm on Twitter at Pacey Perform. And website is paceyperformance.co.uk. So get yourself over there. I know you're a massive fan, Dan, so don't even lie.
I am a massive fan. It's one of the best podcasts out there.
Thanks, mate. Right, I will. Thank you again, and I'll speak to you shortly.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for having us. Bye bye.